Hello friends! Thank you for finding me here on my YouTube channel. You can also find me at my blog and website at stampwithjuliebaum.com. I am doing this kind of spontaneously today. In preparation for tomorrow's stamp club, I figured I would go ahead and video the projects that we're going to be making tomorrow. So let me show you the one that inspired the first card that I'm going to show you. I'm actually breaking this down into 3 different videos. So I'll do a card right now and then a separate version with the second card that we're making at Stamp Club, and then another video with the Christmas box that we're making. So make sure that you watch for all 3 videos in the October Stamp Club series. So I was poking around on the internet like we all do, and I stumbled on this really pretty card that I cased. Another demonstrator had done one similar. Her background and her embellishments were different, but essentially the same, done in old olive and basic white. Very understated and simple, and that's what really drew my attention. So I made this card and really liked it. And then as I was preparing for Stamp Club, we're doing a different fall card, and I didn't want 2 cards that were kind of green and fallish. So I took that idea and changed it up with bright colors. And this is the card that I'm going to show you how to make right now. And this is what we'll be making at Stamp Club this week. So I've already prepared a couple of things. I did go ahead and cut out some of my leaves. Now this is all from the Forever Fern bundle. And this is one that I used quite a bit when I first got it, and then I kind of set it aside and I have sort of forgotten about it. So this was a great reminder to get this out. The dies in here are wonderful, as well as the stamps. And so what I did is I took this largest kind of leafy branch from these dies, and I cut 2 of them out with my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine out of Granny Apple Green. So these have already been prepared for us. And then for the background, I went ahead and used a piece of basic white. Let me tell you the measurements as we go along. This layer is 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and I ran it through the Macrame 3D embossing folder. So when you use the 3D folders in your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, you will only use plate 1 at the bottom, and then you'll sandwich your paper inside your embossing folder, and then you'll cover it with plate 4. So with the 3D folders, you'll only use a plate 1 and a plate 4. So this just has that really yummy texture. I really like it a lot. That's going to go on our card. And then we need to do a little bit of stamping and some more die cutting. So let me just get a scrap here of white cardstock. And this stamp, again, from Forever Fern. So we'll use this one and also this one. And like I said, I wanted to do something with bright colors. And so I've got Mago Melody. And with Mago Melody, I'll stamp this leafy branch. Now, many of you out there probably know all the names to these different branches and elements of plants. I don't. So this one's just leafy branch. So there we have that one. And then I'm going to take this little round berry or pod looking one. We're going to stamp that twice. Once with Coastal Cabana. And then a second time. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Let me clean this off using my chamois, because I'm going to use the same stamp on a different color. So remember to clean your stamps in between colors. All right, so this one is going to be with polished pink. And I'm just going to turn this upside down. My dies are going to fit on here. I want to just make sure there's enough room all around. All right, there's my polished pink one. I really enjoy the fall colors. I like stamping with them. I like looking at them, but I'm always drawn back to what I consider my happy colors, and those are the brights. So this month at Club, we're doing some fall and some brights. All right, so I'm gonna grab my dies, still from that Forever Fern bundle, and run these through. I'm just gonna grab my mini, and I've got a 1 plate, a 2 plate, and then I'll cover it with a second number 2 plate. The plates are numbered differently on your mini compared to how they're numbered on the standard size machine. And if I was using my large machine, I would probably do 2 at the same time, but I don't have as much space, obviously, on this little one, so I'm just going to do 1 at a time. All right, so we'll get my Mago Melody branch cut out. All right, so there's that. And grab the other die. Build up my sandwich again here. All right, and you probably know, but there's lots of little tricks. If you find that your plates have started to warp a little bit or your dies are sliding around, you can add a little bit of washi tape to hold them or a Post-it note. I'm not too worried about this one. I can hold on to it, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. But lots of little tips if you find that you're struggling with any of these processes. All right, and then I need to cut one more. Okay, there's our Coastal Cabana piece. And now the polished pink. So since I brought that up, I am just going to show you real quick. So you can grab, let me see if I have a Post-it note here. My little ones aren't within reach, so I'm going to grab some Post-it tape. This Post-it tape is sticky on the back, but it peels off like a Post-it note. Also, washi tape would work, but you can just kind of stick it down. Then you don't have to worry about it sliding around. So if you ever need to do that, it takes 1 extra couple little seconds, but then you don't have to worry about your dies slipping around. And that would take longer if you had to re-stamp something and line it up and cut it out again. So sometimes it's worth just taking that moment and sticking your tape on there. Okay, so there's my cutout elements. Let's get all of this out of our way. All right, let's finish the stamping since we're kind of on a roll. And I'm going to stamp the greeting. So I've got Granny Apple Green, which is the same. This is the Granny Apple Green ink, and it coordinates with the Granny Apple Green cardstock that I cut those leaves out of. I just have a small scrap of basic white cardstock cut down to about the size that I'm going to need it. I can trim it up if I need to. All right. And then these words are from the same set, Forever Fern. All of the stamps that I'm using for this project are from that same set. And I'm curious what you think, because this has caught my attention several times. When I read it, it says, "To a friend that makes me smile." And I love that, but I kind of go, isn't it supposed to be to a friend who makes me smile? So I would take a poll and find out. I would love for you to leave me a comment and know if you think it should say to a friend that makes me smile or to a friend who makes me smile. Side note, I've kind of Googled it and looked up to see what research says, and apparently both can be correct. So there's that. All right, here's a piece of polished pink cardstock, and I'm going to take our postage stamp punch and just punch this shape out. And by having that, now I know how much to trim this little guy down. So I am going to grab some large scissors because I want to make a few very large straight cuts close to my words. And this could very well be done with your paper trimmer. I usually use my paper snips for almost everything stamping related. But if I'm going to be making some straight cuts that are longer, I do like a longer bladed scissor. All right, I feel like this one's a little crooked. I'm going to see if I can straighten it up. Otherwise, you guys will forgive me if this one is not perfect. There we go. All right, let's see if that's going to fit how I want it to. Yep, that's great. All right, so a little bit of liquid glue on the back of this. And I'll put it on my little postage stamp shape. Like so. I'm going to turn that over and press. That way I don't accidentally smear any ink, or if I had ink on me, I'm not smearing it on the white side. This is always safer. All right, there we go. Now let's begin putting our layers together. So I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and this starts out at 8.5 by 11. I've cut it this time down the long way. So this is 4 1/4. And then when I fold it, it's going to be folded at 5.5. I really do want to score this. So I'm just going to step away for 1 second and score this. All right, I used my Simply Scored tool. It was within closer reach than my trimmer and scoring blade. And with a bone folder, I'll just make that crease nice and crisp. All right, so this version, this style of card is going to open tall ways like this. All right, this could also go this way. That's a nice variation of a card design too. All right, so I have a piece of polished pink, and this is measuring 5 1/4 by 4. So it's just slightly smaller. It will give me that little white border all the way around. I'll attach this with some liquid glue. The liquid glue is always a little helpful because you can wiggle or slide your piece around a little if you don't get it right in the right spot the first time. Same thing, I'm going to flip that over, give it a good press, and now we will add our macrame piece on. Now, typically if I'm going to take something that has high texture like this and I'm going to attach it to another piece, I would use my tear and tape because I feel like it grips better. But this piece is so big that I think with the liquid glue, it's going to cover enough space that it's going to be fine. If it had been a smaller strip of something, I would have just attached it with my tear and tape. But I think this is going to work just fine. All right, and same thing, I'm just kind of eyeballing my borders all the way around and get my macrame piece in place. Okay, now we're just going to build it up with all of our little parts and pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is glue these 2 leafy parts on, and what my goal is to kind of have this area all come together right here on the card because that's where my little sentiment is going to go. So if I can hide all of the stems kind of coming into that one area, then it's going to be great. I'm also going to watch that none of these leaves are hanging off of the white card base. They can go over the pink a little bit. In fact, that looks kind of good. I just don't want it hanging off of the card base because once this gets tucked in an envelope, they will get squished or folded. So I'm going to use my liquid glue. And what I'm going to do, well, you know, I'm going to grab my silicone sheet here so I don't get glue on my workspace. I'm going to focus my glue on the bottom part of these leafy stems. I'm not going to really put any glue up here. And I'll show you when I attach it kind of why I did that. Maybe just a little bit on those ones. Okay, so when I go to put this first one on, down here is going to stick really well. So it's glued down, it's not going to go anywhere. But this way it looks kind of leafy and airy, and I really do like how that looks. So it might need a little bit of care when you tuck it into the envelope so you don't catch it. Or you could tack maybe one or two more down, but I'm going to leave mine like that. And then let's add the second leafy branch. Same thing, the focus of my glue is going to be down here at the bottom. A little on the stem, and then maybe just on these bottom two leaves of that top portion. And then same thing, this one's going to kind of arch this way. I'm okay on my borders, and I'm going to stick all this down, but see how these are kind of loose and airy? It's up to you. You could glue the whole thing down if you think it's better. All right, now I'm going to add my Mago Melody piece. Lots of glue focused on the bottom. I'm going to come up a teeny bit on this one. And I'll layer, again, my stems are kind of all aiming for that same general location down here in the bottom corner. There's like a little scrap of paper that has made its way under here. There we go. All right, there's that one. And then let's put this one on next. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my tactic here for adhesive, because now I'm getting quite a few layers down in here, and I just don't want my liquid glue to not be strong enough. So I'm going to be tucking these down in here, but I am going to grab tear and tape because I really want them to stick. And it's got texture, it's got layers, it has kind of a lot going on underneath it. All right, so I'm going to put a nice long piece down that, and I'm going to go ahead and put some here too. I really want this guy on there well. All right, and then let's just go ahead and prepare this one. There's a piece of tear and tape for that, and a piece of tear and tape for the long part. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this was spontaneous. I usually film our club projects after club has happened, but I ended up with a little bit of time this afternoon. So I figured I would work ahead and start filming my club projects. But because I was spontaneous, I didn't really print anything out. I literally just hand wrote this. This is the host code for the month of October. I so appreciate you watching my videos, and if there are any Stampin' Up! Products that you would like to order, you are more than welcome to visit my site. And at checkout, put this host code in, and that will be very helpful for me this month. Thank you so much. And you can find me at juliebaum.stampinup.net. Or as I mentioned earlier, you can go to my website, stampwithjuliebaum.com, and there's links to my store from there. All right, I'm going to do my pink one. Yeah, I'm going to do pink over here. And then we'll add the Coastal Cabana one on the other side. I'm just using an old piercing tool to pick up the backing of my tape. If you have the Take Your Pick tool, this is fantastic. This will do the same thing for you. I have lots of tools at my fingertips, so it just depends on what's handy and what I grab. All right, here's my Coastal Cabana one. All right, let's take our little greeting, put some dimensionals on the back of this. I'm going to be generous with them this time. I'm going to use 4. 2, one on each side, or maybe one in the middle would certainly hold it. But I'm going to go ahead and put 4 on the corners, on each corner, 1 on each of the 4 corners. All right, and we'll get this one lined up right where we want it. And then before we put all of the supplies away, let's grab this guy one more time and Coastal Cabana. Let's just put a little image on the inside. I always like when the inside of the card has a little something and isn't just completely blank. Of course, sometimes we stamp our words on the inside, but this one I'm not going to add words on the inside. So I'll just add this guy right here in the corner. Now it's got a little decoration there. And the final touch, I think we need some embellishments. So I've grabbed some glitter dots. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure what colors are even available right now. I have lots of these left over. So I would have to see if these are available. Otherwise, there are some lovely embellishments that are current called opal rounds. Those would look totally beautiful on this, and I would suggest that. Or just rhinestones. Rhinestones are always a good choice. So I'm going to go with a Granny Apple Green glitter dot up here and a Coastal Cabana one on this side. And a pink, maybe down here. I love what just a little bit of embellishing does to a card or project. And there we have it. So again, this was inspired by a lovely monochromatic version. And I took the design idea, changed it up a little, completely changed the colors, and ended up with this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will stamp a lovely card and send it off to someone today as well. See you next time.